Good morning, everybody. It is time to get to
the bottom line.
That's what we're going to do with this guy right over here. Michael Jankins joining us in studio right now, talking about a topic that a lot of people might be a little uncomfortable with, but hopefully after our conversation, be a little bit more comfortable with.
We're talking about bankruptcy, and you really want to kind of stress the importance and the benefits of people taking advantage of those free bankruptcy consultations and kind of the reasoning behind that.
That's right. So I always say, why wouldn't you want to take advantage of a free consultation? It's free.
Well, and the first thing people are going to say, let's just be real upfront about it. Yeah, right, it's free. It really isn't free. We're saying this really is a free consultation.
Right, you get 1 hour of time. We don't have a clock running, so if it goes over, it goes over, and you get what you get out of it. Whatever information you came to get, you'll get that and more, and you can use it to make good decisions, or maybe not so good decisions, but
and this is no strings attached, right?
Yeah, it's no strings attached. So I mean, you can't go to see your doctor for free when you don't feel so good about something.
Right.
And so I think it's a great opportunity. And so the next big reason why you should take advantage of a free consultation to see a bankruptcy attorney if you're having financial stress is because at least I think of it as protecting your family.
Okay.
And so you might think, well, that's kind of sound weird. How is that protecting your family to go see a bankruptcy lawyer? It's kind of embarrassing. Well, the reason is because a lot of bad things can happen in life if you aren't making the best financial decisions. And if you can get free advice and consultation to avoid making bad decisions that could cost your family, I think that's a matter of protecting your household.
All right, why don't you give us that typical scenario, what we're talking about here?
So the typical scenario that many people are facing is they've got a serious amount of credit card debt. They may have had some significant medical problems.
No, you say serious amount of credit card debt. What are we talking here number-wise?
Well, it's a little bit relative to income. I mean, what is serious for some may not be quite as serious for others, but I don't care what kind of money you make. If you're carrying $25,000 of credit card debt,
that's huge.
You shouldn't be.
Yeah.
So they're managing that. You got a car payment, maybe 2. You got a mortgage, maybe 2 on the same house. So that's a typical scenario, and people are getting along, trying to juggle their money, and they're starting to run out. And that's when they should start thinking about what are we going to do, and maybe see a bankruptcy attorney, at least for some advice. But many people just can't bring themselves to doing it, and so then bad stuff happens. And people wait until all the bad stuff happens and starts costing their family before they finally get up off the couch and go see the bankruptcy attorney.
Right.
And I don't know why people wait until they have to lose it all.
Do you think there's a stigma about telling somebody or people finding out that you're filing for bankruptcy still?
Well, we talked about that the last time, and I don't really think there's so much stigma anymore.
Okay.
Because millions and millions of people nationwide have done it and are doing it, and so not so much. So I've got a couple different scenarios to illustrate exactly how this costs your family.
Okay.
So scenario 1, you got people that are they're paying their credit card bills, they're paying their medical bills.
Got it.
And their house payments, consequently, are also getting paid, but then you start to fall behind on your car payments because you're trying to manage everything else and there's not enough money to move around, so something has to go. So you lose a car. You lose a car, can't get to your job, you lose your job. All of a sudden, you don't have enough income, and guess what? Now the mortgage is getting behind, and you might be looking for another place to live. So these are all things that are affecting your family.
The domino effect.
Yeah, I mean, and they just don't have to. And I don't know why people choose to wait until they're losing their home, and they're losing their cars, and they're losing their jobs. It just doesn't make any sense.
So I know you have a couple more problems to talk about. First, so if somebody doesn't wait until they see that scenario and they come and see you right at the point they realize I have financial troubles and so forth, talk about how that changes that scenario specifically for them.
So we explain to people, number 1, it's very important to prioritize your debts. I mean, there's certain debts that you just got to pay because they're important. Your house.
Okay,
your
yes, of those those things we just mentioned, which one is the highest priority? You have the house, you have the car, you have the credit cards.
Yeah, the house, number one.
Okay.
It's where you sleep.
Okay.
Number two, the cars. I mean, if the car gets taken, well, there's public transportation, and if all else fails, you get on a bus.
But it's limited though.
But it's limited.
Yeah.
Your roof gets taken away. Well, there's not a lot of other options, and I guess you're going to go become an apartment dweller again. But that is not something you want to be dealing with.
Okay,
I mean, you don't have to.
You have credit cards, and say you have credit cards and medical. Which one of those two is a higher priority?
Neither.
Neither. Okay.
They're just unsecured debts.
Okay.
They can't take
Good
anything
answer.
away
Okay.
from you without going through court proceedings and getting judgments, and then it can garnish your wages. But again, that's people waiting too long to address the problem.
Right.
So you help them identify and make better choices with what they do have to kind of get them through
Or
that.
make it abundantly clear at the appointment that there isn't enough money to go around and you need to do a bankruptcy. It's the common sense, logical thing to do, and in dollars and cents, because we put it right in front of you. I mean, we've looking at your paychecks, we're looking at your money going out, and most of the people can understand math, and they say, yeah, we can't do this,
Right.
and they do the bankruptcy.
Right.
So the next scenario that's really a bad thing is, so people pay their credit cards, they pay the medical bills because they make the most noise. They got debt collectors calling, and so the squeaky wheels get greased.
Get the grease, yep.
And then the other places, that they're bothering you too, but not nearly as much. And so again, they stop paying the house payment because they're scared of all the debt collectors calling every night for the credit cards. And so instead of paying the mortgage, they start shelling out all the rest of their money that they have, and they don't pay the mortgage, and they lose their home. And they could have kept their home if they would have just consulted with me in advance when things were starting to not look so good, and we could have said, look, you got to pay your home if you want to keep it, and you got to pay your cars if you want to keep them.
Right.
Let the other stuff go. You can wipe that stuff out in the bankruptcy with no problems and live happily ever after in your home, instead of having the mortgage company take it away from you. And so the last scenario is that you're paying your credit cards, you're paying your mortgage payments, and you're paying everything, the cars, the house, but your regular everyday bills aren't getting paid. And so, whoops, you stop paying your car insurance because you ran out of money, and as is so often the case, your insurance lapses, you're canceled. The next day is when the accident happens.
Of course it is, yeah.
So you get in an accident in this state without insurance, you lose your driver's license. If it's your fault, you lose your driver's license, you can't get to your job. You can't get to your job, you lose your paycheck. You lose your paycheck, you lose your car, you lose your house.
You really have to put things in perspective.
Yeah, all of these things are avoidable if you just plan, get good counseling about what you need to do, and swallow the bitter pill if you need to, and take the bankruptcy to preserve everything else that you and your family want.
Bankruptcy is a tool. And
That's right.
And you're able to use this tool to help you make things better in your financial life.
Well, if things go off the rails, it's to get you back on the straight and narrow so you can protect your family. So, yeah, I mean, if you take advantage of the free consultation that we offer, you can find out about these things and which things are the most important to be paying, which things you should stop paying, so that you don't lose everything and then come to me when you've lost your home. You just owe money from the cars that have been repossessed because they sold them already, and all you're left with is with a $10,000 or $15,000 deficiency bill.
Yeah, the difference between what they sold them for and what you owed, okay, which is what you're responsible for.
Right, which now they're probably suing you and then subsequently having your wages garnished.
Right.
And so now you're paying for something that you don't even have anymore.
Yeah, so people may have all these things piling up on them, Michelle. They could be overwhelmed by the amount of stress and the financial debt that they have, but there is a way to climb out from underneath that.
Right, and bankruptcy smooths it all out for you. And again, I understand if you were worried about having to pay to go see somebody, but for gosh sakes, it's free.
Yeah, this is free.
Take that first step instead of waiting until...
So there's nothing to be afraid of to go get free information.
I loved your advice on setting your priorities and knowing what is really important. The roof over your head, transportation to get to your job so you can have the money to pay these things. That is really stout advice.
And these events are, obviously a little bit exaggerating
Right.
that all these bad things would happen, but it's just a illustration of all the different impacts that occur from making probably the not best decisions on what you're going to be doing,
Yeah.
and letting them just keep going the wrong way.
But there is a way to correct
that
this.
step.
There is a way to get back up on your feet.
Yeah, it's
Okay?
simple.
And how do they get a hold of you for this free consultation?
So you can give us a call at 255-1855. I'm happy to answer some of your questions over the telephone. You can find us on the internet at www.iowa-bankruptcylaw.com, or you can follow us on Facebook.
All right, Michael Jankins, thank you so much, sir.
Yes, thank you. Good
Outstanding.
information as always.